Well, guys, we made it to the Eastern Conference Final. This went a little faster than expected. Both Florida and Carolina dispatched their opponents really quickly in 5 games. So we got this match of David versus Goliath here. We have the number 1 team in the East points-wise in the Carolina Hurricanes against the wild card 2, lowest point total Florida Panthers. This should be interesting. I know that on paper it seems like a huge leap in Carolina's favor, but I think Florida's shown us with the ability they've had to take out the top team in Boston and the Toronto Maple Leafs back-to-back that they are no pushover. So for this video, what we're going to do for you guys, we're going to give you a preview of both these teams, kind of the matchup, how it's going to go. We're going to talk about the offense, the defense, special teams, goaltending, and then we're going to give you an X factor on both these teams who could be the difference maker in this series. And finally, our prediction on who we think will win.
So let's start with the offense, and I'm going to start with the Carolina Hurricanes. And as you saw in the last series, Martinook had 10 points in that series against the New Jersey Devils. So it just shows that this team, it doesn't matter who they roll out. Their second, these type of players, Jordan Martinook, Jordan Staal, these just fast. These guys can score goals.
Yeah, we went in making the mistake in our last preview that we said that this team was like a one-line offensive team, too many injuries, no Svech, no Turvo. But hey, these guys found a way to score from everywhere, whether it's the first line, second line, third line, even the fourth line was chipping in. These guys were scoring at will against the Devils, so we can't take this offense for granted again. Obviously, still, Sebastian Aho is the one true superstar on this team. We've seen this guy for multiple years now be a point-per-game player. This guy absolutely can take over a game. He's really good all-around player, a two-way player, and he's kind of got some help from young phenom Seth Jarvis. Really emerged this year. Last year, he was pretty solid in the playoffs. You could see him taking a step. But this year, he is a different player. He is a lot more engaged in the play, and he has really good chemistry with Aho. And then looking at that line with, like Hohen was saying, with Staal and Martinook and, freaking fast even, man. This guy, out of nowhere, become a point getter. These guys are used in a lot of situations, sometimes to shut down the top players on the other team. They're probably going to get tasked to go against Matt Tkachuk a lot, if we're being real, when they get the matchups. And that could be quite an interesting one.
Yeah, and not only that, Kotkaniemi had a pretty productive series in the last series against the New Jersey Devils. He's going to have a productive series again in this series. He has to be the second line center. He has to be a difference maker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then on the Florida side offensively, this has been almost the same type of story. In the first series against Boston, we saw it was mainly Matt Tkachuk just single-handedly willing this team to victory, just putting up a insane amount of points, 2 points a game in that series almost. And then in the second round against Toronto, we got to see this team get contributions from everywhere. Obviously Tkachuk, Sam Bennett became a major factor, whether it was as scoring goals or being a pest. This guy was very involved. Barkov, I don't know if he's fully healthy, but you know what? This guy is still a great two-way player regardless. I feel like he is playing with something, and when the playoffs end, we're going to get told what it is, because he doesn't look like his normal self, but he is still pretty close to a point-per-game player, which is pretty incredible for a guy that's going through something. And then looking down the line, Luostarinen has really stood out to me. Whether he's playing on the second or third line, depending where they use him, he has been a great two-way player. Same with youngster Anton Lundell. This is a team that is fairly deep. We didn't give them enough credit throughout our first couple rounds of the playoffs to be able to score goals, and this team can really score.
Yeah, as Scott alluded to, I think Florida Panthers from lines 1 to 4, or lines 1 to 3 especially, are very good two-way hockey lines. Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting to see two of the best Finnish centers going up against head-to-head against each other in Sebastian Aho and Alexander Barkov. It's going to be very exciting because I don't think we've ever seen this type of playoff matchup before. So yeah, it's very exciting. Luostarinen and Anton Lundell, these guys are very good two-way hockey players, and I think there's a big reason why they were able to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last series is because they had great contribution from those guys. Nick Cousins on that line completes that Matthew Tkachuk line with Sam Bennett. They've proven to be a hard line to play against. They like to piss you off. They like to get under your skin. So we're going to see how Carolina matches up against that line. And of course, they got the Barkov line, who is a very well-respected line, very premier player in the league, of just a very good two-way line.
Yeah, both these teams have great two-way forwards. You saw it by the goals against in the last series. Both these teams didn't allow almost any goals. It was incredible. You're talking sometimes 1-2 goals against max. very responsible players. And really with Florida, like Hohen said, it's lines 1 through 3. I'll be honest, the fourth line for Florida does get exposed a lot. Actually, there was a lot of talk about this and how much they should be playing, if they even play more than 7 minutes a night, because every time they were on the ice, basically, Toronto was able to score. That was the only time they were able to score. So that 1 through 3 is definitely going to get tasked with a lot of minutes, and they're probably not going to want to rely on the fourth line too much there. Carolina, they tend to roll their lines pretty good, so it should be interesting. See if they can kind of have more energy in this series.
Yeah, now we're going to move on to the defense. We're going to start out with the Carolina Hurricanes. Boy, do they have a very good defense core. I mean, we talked about that in the review of when they eliminated the New Jersey Devils. They have a insane top four. The pairing of Brett Pesce and Brady Shea is very, very good shutdown defense. It's a very good two-way defense core. And of course, you got Slave and Brent Burns. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they really only had the one bad game against the Devils, the 8-4 game where everyone was getting blown up there. But other than that, they were pretty much flawless every other game. These guys were unreal defensively. And I always talk about how Carolina might have the best defensive group of 4 in the entire National Hockey League, with Shea, Pesce, Burns, and Slavin. But man, these guys also added to the offense. It was kind of unexpected. They were really chipping in. I mean, Burns, we're used to seeing chip in offensively, but even guys like Slavin and Pesce were really getting some numbers up in that series against the Devils. And if they can jump up into the play more and get involved, this team is going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, and we're going to flip the switch to the Florida Panthers. They also have a very good defense core, especially led by Brandon Montour. And Gustav Forsling is a very good two-way defenseman. And they got Aaron Ekblad, who had a pretty good series against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ekblad was playing a lot better. I mean, he kind of had struggled for a while this year. Not really his best season. On the other hand, Brian Montour just continues to not disappoint. This guy just, once again, came out of nowhere from being an average defender with not a lot of offensive upside to being a 70-point player and a playoff phenom who just can't stop scoring goals. That slap shot he has from the point is absolutely deadly, and I'd be scared as hell to be a goalie against this guy. And then just his play on the power play is really good. He works really great with Tkachuk, Barkov, and those guys. Incredible. Yeah,
and one more defenseman I want to add to that, Gudas. Gudas is a guy I thought he changed that game. Changed that series against Toronto. I thought Toronto Maple Leafs didn't have a solution to Gudas, especially with the way he was hitting all their players. He was just absolutely destroying all the Toronto players, and they had no answer. But I don't see that the case with Carolina. I think Carolina is a much tougher team mentally than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, Gudas is a physical freak. I mean, this guy loves to just smash you. Leads the league in hits almost every year. Absolute monster. I think it is, like Hohen said, a little harder to kind of get at Carolina. They're also a pretty tough team. They're used to just taking it and dishing it out back equally. So that should be quite a good battle between their forwards and the defense from Florida.
And now we're going to talk about the goaltender matchup. Obviously with Carolina, they're going to have Freddie Anderson. And ever since he came in that last game in the first round and won that series, he has been good with the exception of one game. So he has been good, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a very good matchup. And the other side, he got Sergei Bobrovsky. It's two Vezina caliber goaltender, in my opinion.
Yeah, Freddie Anderson has a lot of experience, and he hasn't been bad, except for the one game against the Devils, like I said, where everyone kind of got torched in that 8-4 game. But other than that, I mean, he only allowed one goal a game, 3 of those games. Really incredible stuff by him. He really seems to have bounced back from his struggles early this year. And then Sergei Bobrovsky, right now, probably one of the contenders, if you were to say the Conn Smythe winner right now at this part in the playoffs. Absolutely phenomenal. I would have said Matt Tkachuk for that a series ago, but now for me it's Bob's. This guy has been playing absolutely unreal. He is his former Vezina self. And with this one, it's really hard to kind of give an edge because both have played really well. If Bob's continues this though, that level of play he had against Toronto, I think it's going to be hard to beat this guy. But let's talk about some special teams here because as we've seen this year in the playoffs, a lot of games have been determined by power play goals. I mean, whether you look at series in the West, like the Oilers, so they can't stop scoring, or you look at Carolina, in this case, who doesn't allow power play goals. It's very rare and few between that a team can score a goal on the power play against the Hurricanes. Their penalty kill is absolutely elite. If it's not the best, it's definitely top 2 or 3 in the entire league. Definitely the best of all the teams in the playoffs, no contest. Carolina's PK is great. They know exactly where to be positionally. Their defensemen and their forwards, like, I mean, we talked about it. They're great two-way players. And I think it's going to come down to if Florida's able to get a couple of power play goals against this squad, because not a lot of teams have been able to get many.
And the Florida Panthers, they're kind of in the middle, like just average for the power play and average for penalty kill. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get some of those power plays like they had going early against Toronto in the first couple games there, where they were scoring pretty good, kind of fizzled off a little bit as it went on. But yeah, they have the guys to get it done. I mean, that squad with like Tkachuk and Barkov and Montour at the point. Like, I mean, these guys are stacked offensively. The question is if they're able to get past that scheme that the Carolina Hurricanes really have going for them. But let's think here. Let's get an X factor for both these teams that we really think could make the difference. This is, in my mind, a very close series. So I'm going to say, let's start off with Florida here. A guy who really could make the difference in this series. And I'm probably going to go with Carter Verhaeghe. I didn't talk about him much when we were talking about the forwards, but this guy's been absolutely insane in the playoffs, whether it was last year where he led the team in points or this year where he scored 3 goals against Toronto in that series. He's become quite a great offensive player. Not a lot of people expected that when he was playing on Tampa's fourth line a couple years ago. But I think if Carter Verhaeghe can continue his pace and score a couple goals in this series, it could be the big difference.
And for my X factor for the Florida Panthers, I was going to pick Bob, but I'm going to pick Anthony Duclair. I think he's playing on a line with Alexander Barkov, who is, in my opinion, one of the best centers in the league. And if you're going to play on a line with Alexander Barkov, you got to start scoring. You got to score a lot of goals. And he did a pretty good job, especially that breakaway goal that he had against Toronto and stuff like that. But I think he needs to have more production on that line.
Looking at Carolina now, I got to pick an X factor from Carolina. I'm going to go with Jacob Slavin, one of the best defensive defensemen in the game. I want to see how he deals with guys like Matt Tkachuk, who are very physical, very in your face, and try to draw constant penalties. Slavin isn't a guy who takes many penalties. So I think this could be a good matchup to test him as long as he's not taking swings at this guy. But also just he's going to have to be probably playing like 25, 26 minutes a night. And I think that if he plays good, that's going to be enough for Carolina to take this series.
My X factor for the Carolina Hurricanes to win the series is going to be very easy. It's Jordan Martinook. I mean, this guy led the series in the last series with 10 points. And if they're gonna have any type of success in this against this series, I feel like he needs to replicate that.
Kind of continue.
Kind of continue that somehow.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So like we said, this is a very close series here, and it's not as big of a gap as it looks like on paper. So we're gonna talk. What do you have for your prediction for the series? Who do you have winning, and how many games, and why?
Okay, I have Carolina winning, and I have this team winning in about 6 games. And the reason why I have Carolina winning is very simple. I watched how they destroyed the New Jersey Devils. Our prediction, we had New Jersey to win that series. We thought whoever came out of that, with the injuries that Carolina had with those big players, we thought that whoever made it out of New York or between New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils, we thought they were going to clap Carolina, and they didn't. And the way that Carolina clapped New Jersey, it's like crazy. The fact that they didn't even allow those players do anything. The thing is, this is a very veteran team. This is a team that has been to the playoffs many, many years. A player like Matthew Tkachuk would not, in my opinion, would not be able to do much against a team like this. Was able to be a big factor against a weak mentality team like the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I feel like Carolina is a very strong-minded team. They played with the system, and they're very strict with the system, and they get contribution throughout the lineup. It doesn't matter what your name is.
All right, that's fair. This one's really hard. I also have this series going very long, actually even longer than home. I actually think we're going to get a 7-game series here, and I will say that Carolina does take it, mainly because they're going to be the home team in Game 7, and Carolina at home in the last couple of years has been absolutely unstoppable. Something about playing in rally, they just absolutely play out of their minds, and then they get to do their little storm surge at the end where they clap. But otherwise, I just think this is going to be a very, very competitive series, and I just think that at home and Game 7, Carolina doesn't throw it away, and their defensive structure and their opportunistic scoring where they just wait for you for 60 minutes to make a mistake and capitalize maybe twice in 10 seconds, and then they win the game 2-1. So I just see that type of gameplay from Carolina again, and I think they will come away victorious.
And one last thing I want to add, a lot of games against Toronto, when Florida played Toronto, there were low-scoring games, 2-1, 3-2, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're kind of used to it, though, so that might be good for Florida. You never know.
Yeah.
But guys, let us know in the comments below who you guys have winning this series. I think it's going to be very close. Let us know if we're out to lunch and you think it's going to be like a fast series, or if you also think it's going 6 or 7 games. Till next time, take care and have a great day.
Bye.